Hey, it's Bob and Ben here from South by Southwest again for day 3 wrap-up. Today's been less talks and more walking around. So basically, it's been a really interesting day, but I only went to one talk today, but really spent most of my time in the exhibitor centre, looking at all of the kind of displays from around the world that people have brought to South by Southwest.
Yeah, before I probably should mention why we're sort of moving this way. We're on a pedicab at the moment, as you can see. That's our rider. That's how you get around kind of South by Southwest in between all the buildings and the conferences. I got to a couple of kind of talks today, and again, as Bob said, the trade show opened up, which made things very interesting. I guess the first thing I saw, Bob, what I thought was kind of cool was a talk on the ethics of data. And that was really interesting. And basically, what was sort of presented was the fact that the US at the moment is pretty much the wild west of data. You can buy anonymous kind of mobile phone usage. Apparently here, it was said your mobile phone gets pinged 170 times a day, and that data is collected and it's sold. It's sold to marketers. And the danger of that is, yes, it's anonymous, but all you need to do is really look at where that data signal is coming on between the times of midnight and 8 o'clock, and then you've got where someone actually lives, and then from that information you can draw more information. So there's just a need, and there was an idea floated that what we need is a code of ethics when it comes to using data or using data tools. So the sort of code of ethics you use if you're a builder, and how you kind of use those tools, which I thought was a really, a really interesting sort of argument, and obviously this stuff is happening so thick and fast that we have to think about these kind of things going forward.
Yeah, that's actually a topic that I've been thinking about quite a lot in Sydney, because there is no regulation. I think it comes down to governments not really understanding what data can be collected. So the tech space is actually so far ahead of the government space in knowledge of what can be done. There's no one actually governing it, saying what should be done. And sometimes tech companies in their excitement can do things that are actually quite scary and don't make sense. And that's a really big theme I've seen coming out from not only the festival, but just tech in general over the last year. The talk that I went to, which was really great, was a talk on touch and technology. So I was talking about haptics and how now that we've got touch screens and mobile phones, we really don't engage that much with like tactile kind of experiences. And there was a really great researcher there from the Disney Labs. And if you're not familiar with the Disney Labs, I'll include a link at the bottom of this video. But the Disney Labs are doing some amazing things with touch and stories. And so it really just got me thinking creatively as to when we come up with ideas, how do we incorporate sensations of touch around technology, and particularly touch feedback is a really interesting thing. So yes, that was the talk I went to. What did you see in the exhibitor hall?
Well, I guess my favourite stuff within the actual exhibit hall itself was essentially a lot of the startups that were coming out of, and startup products are coming out of Japan and Korea. Again, a lot of this work is sort of coming out of either small creative agencies, or it's coming out of universities. And there were sort of these wonderful small little ideas that were sort of incredibly practical. My favourite probably was a company that's built an app that essentially recycles your old smartphones into Internet of Things devices. So imagine taking that old phone that has, that has sort of a camera in it and sensors in it, and turning it into a baby monitor, turning it into a means of sort of taking photos of what's in your fridge every time you've opened it, so you can be at the supermarket and see what's going on with it. And again, countless other kind of applications, and that was what the reason why that app's been built.
It's like the ultimate recycling.
It's the ultimate recycling. And
being a nerd, I think I've got about 6 phones sitting at home in a drawer.
Absolutely. And there's that whole thing of technology moves so fast. What do we do with our antiquated technology? And these guys are working on a solution to do that, which I think is brilliant and enormously practical.
Yeah, you mentioned that a lot of it was students. One of the best things I saw in the exhibitor hall, and we'll actually probably do our video from there tomorrow so you can see some of it, was the University of Michigan. So oftentimes I always think of MIT when I think of Michigan, but the University of Michigan is doing some amazing things. And in particular, they had one demo that was kind of blew my mind in medical science. So they're actually being able to 3D print prosthetics and even internal splints. So they gave a great example of when a young baby is born without a formed trachea. They can actually do a CT scan, model out what the baby's trachea is in size and dimension, and then build a 3D print a splint that they then put around it that opens up the airway and allows them to breathe. This whole process takes about a day, And the most amazing thing is it only requires one surgery because the 3D materials actually dissolve in the body, are biodegradable, and dissolve after 3 to 5 years. So just phenomenal stuff being done, and practical uses of 3D printing in medical science.
And that's kind of what's been missing. I mean, having gone to the Maker Centre kind of yesterday, materials is the biggest thing. The fact that the materials are quite sort of fragile and collapsible is kind of it's a really practical application, isn't it, when you get to the medical things? I guess the third thing I'll sort of talk about is I've seen a couple of brand activations here. One excellent, one probably not so excellent. The most excellent one I saw was for the television program Mr. Robot. So Mr. Robot, interesting enough, it was launched here at South by Southwest Film last year because its subject matter is pretty much dramatising the whole Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, anonymous hacker kind of space. It's set in a dystopian future. It's about this organisation called F Society, which really are pretty much like Anonymous, and they're basically trying to bring down this large evil corporation called E Corp. There was a massive party last night, Mr. Robot party, where they were handing out masks, which was like that symbolic mask from V for Vendetta, which has been made very, very, very famous by Anonymous, and that was an excellent sort of brand activation. It just sort of had everyone kind of feeling like you were part of this sort of subversive kind of group, and it was really the perfect thing you can do for a TV show now, because one of the interesting things the TV show does is all the hacking, all the technology it uses is 100% real. So it's actually showing people how to do some very subversive things if you actually break them down, which is why the show, I guess, had a lot of kind of clout and credibility coming out of here. The second brand activation I saw yesterday is that Kodak is here at South by Southwest trying to reinvigorate their brand. They're back after kind of famously disappearing. I guess there's that famous thing, Instagram figured out that photos are no longer memories. They're what we're doing right now. Kodak, however, I guess kind of assumed they were memories. They invested in famously in photo kiosks, and that was a pretty poor decision. They're back, but they're back to the positioning that photos are memories again, and they've got this prism and this activation they've done where you supply a photo off your phone, and suddenly you're inside this prism, and it's this very arty thing. But it was interesting. I think I walked into it. I was not that impressed. A lot of the people who were with me and queuing for a while to see it were not that very impressed either. I guess the problem is photos aren't memories anymore. You can't bring that stuff back. It's kind of moved on.
So they're back, but they're not. They didn't really impress you.
No, it was and didn't really impress those around me either. So there you go. I mean, if you're going to come to sort of South by Southwest and sort of show what you're doing it in front of a pretty critical audience. So I'm not too sure if
make sure you get it right.
Make sure you get it right. And I'm not 100% sure if Kodak did that.
Yeah, the last thing that I saw that I thought was really interesting is just the size of computing. So in the trade hall, I bought some of these. So basically, they're really just small computers. So Arduino boards are something that basically in the makerspace people have been using for a long time to build Internet of Things devices, and I was just amazed how small they're getting. This is paper thin, this big, and it's basically got all the functionality of an Arduino computer, and $8, so I bought 3 of them. So I'm looking forward to playing with this stuff when I get back to Sydney, and then Ben got one for Melbourne as well. But no, it's been a great day. Still really enjoying South by Southwest. Still overstimulated with all the things that kind of are going on around the space, but we're really enjoying it. So signing off from South by Southwest.
Yeah, see you soon.